The structural evolution of the Indian Republic into a primary axis of global power is accelerating, moving at a scale rewriting international baselines. In 2025, India stands as the world's most populous democracy, reaching a projected nominal gross domestic product of $4.19 trillion. However, mapping India's actual position reveals a deep structural dichotomy. The country ranks fourth in conventional military firepower and aggregate economic size, while simultaneously ranking 130th in human development and 102nd on the Global Hunger Index. This radar chart plots India's global index rankings across four distinct axes: economy, technology, environment, and society and governance. Mapping the current 2025 to 2026 data creates a highly asymmetric, distorted shape. Aggregate macroeconomic power is separate from structural depth. To understand the actual mechanics of India's superpower transition, we have to deconstruct exactly why these data points diverge. India's macroeconomic trajectory is its most formidable geopolitical asset. The International Monetary Fund projects a 6.6% expansion rate, positioning the country as a primary engine of global growth. While India's nominal GDP is the fourth largest on Earth, its GDP per capita drops to 119th. This gap highlights a significant lag in wealth distribution. Top-tier capital acts as a bottleneck, limiting domestic consumption required for long-term economic maturity. A unique macroeconomic cushion stabilizes this disparity: the global Indian diaspora. Capital flows from West Asia and North America account for 14.3% of the world's total remittance inflow. This influx reaches $129 billion annually. It regularly exceeds total foreign direct investment and supports a foreign exchange reserve that now stands at $702 billion. These reserves provide financial sovereignty, yet the domestic consumer base remains fragile until the wealth distribution gap begins to close. This economic scale is increasingly organized by a digital revolution that has reached ground-level commerce. In the technology quadrant, India has been classified as an innovation overperformer by the World Intellectual Property Organization for 15 consecutive years. The Global Innovation Index matrix displays a severe divergence. Knowledge and tech outputs sit at 22nd globally, while inputs lag at 58th and 61st. Despite ranking first in ICT exports and AI publications, research and development spending remains stagnant at just 0.65% of GDP. This lack of broad-based funding concentrates innovation in specific science clusters and top-tier technical institutes. Digital readiness and tech export dominance currently rely on the volume of a highly educated talent pool rather than deep institutional funding. Supporting this industrial scale requires an aggressive energy strategy. India achieved its target of 60% non-fossil installed power capacity 5 years ahead of schedule, but actual generation tells a different story. To meet surging baseline demand, the industrial grid still expands fossil fuel extraction and coal production. In the 2026 Climate Change Performance Index, India's ranking dropped from 10th to 23rd. Ambitious renewable targets are currently clashing with the continued auction of new domestic coal blocks. While a 2070 net zero target exists, the current policy lacks the specific interim milestones for 2035 and 2040 necessary to keep the country on a 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway. Environmental performance and air quality indices consistently place India among the lowest-ranked nations globally. Ranking as the third most polluted country on Earth creates an urgent public health crisis. High PM2.5 pollution levels in the capital and other cities are directly reducing life expectancy. Current macroeconomic expansion is effectively borrowing against the long-term health and environmental stability of the foundational workforce. This leads to the most significant lag in India's global profile: foundational social development. India ranks 130th on the Human Development Index. When the score is adjusted for economic inequality, the country suffers a 31.1% loss in overall value. The Global Hunger Index ranks India at 102nd. This serious category is driven by a child wasting rate of 18.7%, the second highest rate in the world. In the governance quadrant, digital public services have improved transparency, raising India to 91st on the Corruption Perceptions Index. But other metrics indicate institutional polarization. India projects significant international influence, ranking 29th in global soft power. Conversely, internal metrics like world press freedom sit at 151st, and the Economist Intelligence Unit classifies the state as a flawed democracy. Recent assessments note a decline in women's parliamentary representation and persistent concerns regarding the safety of journalists investigating high-level corruption. These contradictory rankings are the byproduct of the legislative environment at the center of the Indian state. High GDP growth cannot automatically translate into global hegemony if the foundational human capital remains trapped in multidimensional poverty and democratic stagnation. The completed radar chart reveals the full scale of the Indian Republic's global standing. This asymmetry defines a nation caught between elite macroeconomic engines and foundational socio-environmental deficits. $702 billion in foreign reserves and a fourth-place rank in military firepower provide the material foundation for strategic autonomy and regional dominance. The upcoming 2026 Be Ready assessment by the World Bank will serve as the next major barometer for whether recent administrative reforms are successfully translating into structural convergence. India's evolution into a primary global superpower rests on the ability to synchronize aggregate economic power with the tangible per capita reality of its population.